Remember, most marriages in the apostles' culture were arranged by parents. The betrothed might admire each other from a distance, but very few of Paul's contemporaries would be likely to sing, "We got married in a fever, hotter than a pepper sprout." I guess few of our contemporaries sing that anymore, but it's still in my brain. It's only because our culture has idealized and idolized romance that it sounds so discordant to us for Paul to tell Titus to tell the older women to admonish the younger women to love their husbands. We've been programmed to think of love as primarily something that you feel, whereas God speaks of it as primarily something that you do. Fairy tale romances are often built on nothing more than a look, or a kiss, or a magic carpet ride. The results of such indoctrination from childhood is that we tend to think happiness in marriage is determined primarily by who it is we choose to marry, when in fact it is determined in most cases by how it is we choose to love. Yes, it's possible to live happily ever after, but not without a great deal of effort, not without a great deal of self-sacrifice, not without a great deal of humility, not without a willingness to seek forgiveness and a willingness to forgive. And such things are not the stuff of which most fairy tales are made. Joshua Liebman put it well, "And they lived happily ever after" is one of the most tragic sentences in literature. It's tragic because it's a falsehood. It's a myth that has led generations to expect something from marriage that is not possible. If romantic feelings were the soul of biblical love, and if those romantic feelings continued unabated throughout marriage, then Paul wouldn't have to exhort Titus towards the older women to teach the younger women to love their husbands. Do you still have a fairy tale view of marriage? You say, "Well, not me. I'm married." Listen, you may have a fairy tale view of marriage, even if you've been married for many, many years. But you may think that your problem is you married one of Cinderella's stepsisters, or you kissed the wrong frog. The point is, as author John Fisher put it, the success of a marriage comes not in finding the right person, but in the ability of both partners to adjust to the real person they inevitably realize they married. When asked what makes a good marriage, over 90% of Americans recently surveyed responded, "Being in love." You see, Americans think the key to a happy life is find someone with whom you are in love and marry that person, or at least live with that person. The problem is, we think of love as something that's easy to fall into and just as easy to fall out of. But as we said, the Lord's instruction about love is not that it's not primarily what we feel, it's primarily what we do. As a Christian, I am called by Christ to do thoughtful, considerate things for my spouse. Couples who come to the despairing conclusion that, quote, "we just don't love each other anymore," should be told quite simply, well, start learning. Christian counselor Jay Adams agrees. A husband and wife come into a counseling session. She says, "I don't know why we came. The situation is hopeless." He agrees, "We don't love each other anymore." And there they sit. It is obvious that they have lost any feeling of love that they once might have had. They expect the counselor to say, "Well, I guess that's about it. If you don't love one another, there's no hope." But what we say is, "I am sorry to hear that. I guess you will have to learn how to love each other." They look astounded. "What do you mean, learn how to love each other? What are you talking about? That's ridiculous." No, it isn't ridiculous. 6 or 8 weeks later, they're likely to go out of there hand in hand, having the feeling as well as the love, if they really mean business. You see, love doesn't come, as fools believe, full-blown from the head of Aphrodite. Love must grow. It has to be watered, nourished, and cared for. It must be cultivated. It has to be weeded, too. Love has its problems, but real love can grow tall and strong when it is cultivated as God says.